Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's Livestream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream. All right, welcome. It has been a while since I have streamed, like way too long. And there's a reason for that. And I don't want to get like too heavy into it because I'm sure this is like a consistent thing on YouTube when people haven't YouTubed in a while, like the long explanation and stuff. And so I'm going to preface this by saying I've come to the conclusion these are probably all excuses for not working on my comic. So I have had a change in career, and it's been like a bit of an adjustment, like to kind of get used to the new flow and new workflow. Uh, it's pretty exhausting, to be honest. And I've been sick for like 2 weeks. And so with like a bad cold. So basically, I was like going to work. It was like a workable thing. But then when I get home, I'd just be like dead and just crash. So like the last few days, I've been fine. I haven't been sick. And I've been hit with the thing that happens with a lot of creatives, and I think a lot of us struggle with, which is when I'm not making art, like even when I was feeling sick, like what I end up doing is getting into like consumption mode. I don't know if that makes sense. And I have like philosophies about this that I've talked about before, where you can kind of either be like a consumer or a maker, right? And when I'm making and I'm in the flow and practice of like making things like art and comics and like even exercise, things that are like positive, like building things, um it's like it's a an additive process, and adding things is a lot harder than subtracting things. And I find in my nature, if I'm not feeding that, I go the opposite and I start just consuming things. So I'll watch a lot of YouTube or watch a lot of television, or um, like just find myself like browsing, you you know, and looking at things that I want to consume. And it's this weird thing about maybe this is just my personality, but I feel like I get less focused on the consumption stuff when I'm making things. And making things is really fun and rewarding. And usually I'm a lot happier when I am doing that. But when I get out of the habit of it, like even if it's because of being sick or a career change or anything like that, it's so easy for me to fall out of doing stuff. And so my comics fell by the wayside, and it's like I got a publishing deal. So I need to actually be working on it. And the last few days I've gotten home. I've been thinking like the last few days I've had this whole plan, and I'm going through this because maybe like on air, because maybe this will be helpful for those of you who are like struggling to make stuff or like working on stuff and like thinking, like how do I balance this with the day job and stuff? And maybe some people like have looked at me in the past and been like, wow, this guy's a really good example of like working hard, like on top of his work and stuff. Cause I used to have like this crazy long commute, and I'd work 8+ hours, and then I'd get home and like I'd work till like 3 or 4 in the morning on comics. And that was like what I did for like almost a decade, you know? So those of you who've watched this YouTube channel for a while probably are really familiar with like that side of me. But yeah, it's been I am not immune to like having the struggle of like, man, like the last few days, after I start feeling better, I don't feel like I have a cold or anything like that. I've been like, I'm gonna do a live stream when I get home. And then I'll be like driving from work, and I'll be like, I'm gonna sit down, work on my comic, do a live stream when I get home. And then the last 2 days, I haven't done that because it's been like nice. Like I've gotten home and like I get to hang with my kid and like play video games with him and stuff. And it's like, it's nice. But then I realized, like, okay, so a more realistic thing is that's probably not going to go away, right? So when I get home, I'm probably going to like want to spend time with my kid or have to spend time with my kid, which is honestly a good thing. He's awesome, and it's always super fun. Like today, we read Diary of a Wimpy Kid together, and we played Exploding Kittens and talked and told me a little bit about his school and stuff like that. It was fun. But that probably means I'm going to have to get into a night schedule again of like working, and a reasonable one, right? Because I'm older now. I'm not 10 years younger than I am now. And so I have to kind of watch that, right? And I think some of us are definitely there. Some of us might be further than I am, on that. But point being, like, I have to be a little responsible about it. Like, I can't be up till like 4 a.m. working on art. So yeah, I think like 9 might be a good aim for my live streams, like to try to do something at 9. And I'll do like the 100 days thing. For those of you who were around during the 100 days of making comics, and by the way, if you came here for the art and the making comics, don't worry, we're going to do it. I just have to catch you guys up. And I thought this was an interesting thing to discuss. Philip was saying, speak for yourself, LOL. I know, Philip, you got me beat by like youth just flowing through you. Honestly, Philip does have like young energy. Um, I've met him. He's a nice guy. And Philip, if you're listening, I'm talking about you. That's right. Anyhow, so yeah, so like basically my what I need to do, I'm mapping it out, and what I need to do is like kind of almost treat this like the 100 days of making comics. For those of you who are around or weren't around, that was like you spend 30 minutes a day working on your comic for like 100 days. And that's kind of a joke to like a lot of cartoonists who are in the field. And not in a negative way, just because like a lot of cartoonists who like, I mean, dude, we've had cartoonists on, like David Hartman was on for Halloween. And to somebody like David Hartman, I don't know if 100 days is a big deal for him working on comics, because like the dude can knock out a graphic novel in like 2 months, you know. Um, but for people like me, I think it can have its uses, especially. And I remember why Kevin originally, my friend Kevin, came up with it was like he found himself in a rut, like doing day job stuff, and it was creative, but he found that he wasn't doing comics, and he wanted to do comics, and he needed to make time to do comics, and so he came up with 100 days to kind of keep himself accountable, like to working on his comic. I have to work on my comic. I have a publishing deal for it, so I can't like let the publisher and the writer down. And so I think that might be the method of like, okay, look, and this is me speaking to myself. It's like, when I get home, hell or high water, if I have to have coffee, don't have too much because that's something I'm prone to do, but even have a cup of coffee and then work from 9 to 10 minimum. Right. And then if you really like get in the zone, then work from like 9 to 1, absolute maximum. Right. 1 is like cutoff time. So that's what I'm going to try to do to get back in the flow of doing this stuff. And I'm going to just aim for like 9 o'clock because by then my son's asleep. Other than Thursdays when we do Artcasters, which will be earlier. So I think it's going to be 8 o'clock tomorrow. And then I know the next week I believe we have a friend of mine from graduate school, Yevgenia, who's a brilliant like gallery artist. She's going to be on the next week, and that'll be on I think Corey's channel or something. But anyhow, point being, that's kind of the plan. That's the map. And I invite you guys to give me grief about it because I need the accountability. I need to actually get back on the horse and like and just accept the fact that like at this point I do not have the right to call myself a cartoonist unless I work on comics tonight. And I need to remember that. That's like the mindset I had for about a decade, and it slipped, man, for like the last month or so. That has fallen. Like I have definitely been feeling that drag of like I don't want to work on comics. Even now, live streaming, like before hitting go live, I was like, I don't really want to do this. And the thing is, I do want to do it. And I think that a lot of us out there deal with that, like what the War of Art calls resistance, or just our own personal lives. Like everybody's going through weird stuff. People who have like amazing dream jobs still struggle for time. People who are super fast still struggle for time. And it really is like art is kind of, if there's anything I've learned about art in my like 20 plus years of doing it, it's a this is a cliche, but it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? And so you have to really approach things like actively. Like you have to pursue art. Art is like a love thing, and so it requires pursuit and persistence. And some days you don't feel like it's like anything that's a passion is kind of like that, where it's like it you have to kind of get in a mindset to do it. And if you want to do it, if you don't, then don't, and then just work your day job and go home and clock out and feel good. Honestly, I've been doing that the last few weeks, other than feeling like a terrible cold. But it's like it has been nice to just kind of come home and like noodle around on TV and that kind of stuff. But I do want this book to come out, and the income potential of that book's good. There's still a pitch that I need to build. If that opportunity is still around, there's still a logo I need to design for a friend. So I need to try to do that this weekend. And these are all blessings. Like they aren't curses. They aren't like these horrible burdens placed on me. They're like abundance. Like they're good things. I will say, uh, and then we'll get into art. So just to kind of wrap this up, weirdly enough, I'm working a job that a lot of people would consider like way lower level than my previous job. And I am strangely like happier than I felt in like a decade. Like I even had a rough day today, and comparatively to the rough days I'd have at my previous place, it's like it's not like stress that's like I felt a little bit of stress. I had like a moment of quiet today for like maybe 10-15 minutes, and then I was like, I'm good. I'm good. That never happened. Like at my previous place, that just didn't happen. Like I would just feel this weight like every day, almost every minute. I'd feel dread before going in. I don't feel dread like tomorrow. I'm not even running through my mind like in dread about like the next day. And for people who like enjoy their work, um that's probably normal. But like I guess it's making it clear to me like I really don't think I enjoyed where I was working before. And so this feels like a better fit, like at least a better direction, and definitely makes me interested in the potential of kind of pursuing it and getting better at it. And I'm not going to be perfect at it as I start, but it's like anything, it'll be an improvement. And the other thing that's nice, and I posted this to Instagram, is I've had a lot of time to do life drawings. So like during my day, a lot of it is just kind of watching people like all day and just kind of like observing and stuff like that. So I am able to like sketch, and I've been doing a lot of life drawing, and it's fun, and I'm remembering like how fun it is to just draw without an agenda. And so my love of drawings there, my love of comics is definitely there. My dread of getting into what we're going to work on tonight is palpable. But I know from experience that all it's going to take is just starting, and then it'll feel right. Right. And then all I have to do tomorrow is not listen to the voice that's going to be like, you don't have to, you know, because I have to work on this thing. So anyhow, I'm dealing with a lot of juggling, a lot of life changes and stuff like that a lot of people might use as an excuse, and I've been using as an excuse. And I need to follow my own advice with that kind of thing. The type of stuff I've talked about for, a decade or so. That's what I need to start doing now. So if you guys are in a rut, and you're struggling to get to your comic or your dream, maybe this is the time. Maybe while I'm working, bust out something, whatever that dreaded thing is that you want to do, but you've just been putting off, and start working on it with me. We can confront this beast together. Philip said, I'm turning 55 and I'm up till 3 a.m., but honestly, it's because of my job, and I'd rather shift my system to turn in earlier. Yeah, I understand that. Philip also said, I miss doing life drawing. I definitely need to spend time doing that again. Yeah, I get that too. I had missed it, and even just that's the thing. Like, for people who are artists out there, especially if you're in school or something and you have assignments to draw in your sketchbook, don't feel like that's work. Like, it'll feel like it's work. I know it's like it's part of learning it, but realize, like, for working artists, just having like an hour where you can just sit and like crowd watch and draw, like, that's fun. That's like so fun. That's the most just intuitive art I think there is, where you're just like, you're not having a concept. You don't have to do anything but like observe and kind of enjoy what you're observing and highlight things where, you could look at somebody with funny hair and be like, wow, that person has funny hair. I'm going to draw that. That looks like really fun to draw, like that crazy, interesting hair. Or like, wow, that person, the nose structure of that person is really interesting. I'm going to make this drawing all about that nose. Or, wow, that like corner of the room looks cool. I want to draw that, like that is sheer uh joy. I could do that all day. Like, if I could have a job where I just sit at like a mall and just draw people, I that would be the best job in the world. You know what I mean? Like, where nobody's telling you what to do. You got a sketchbook, you just draw whatever you see, whatever is interesting, whatever catches the eye, whatever would be a good exercise. It's such a, like, I don't know, it's fun. um but that's like shooting hoops, right? On your own, and like, now it's game time, so I got to work on my comic, and now we're going to get into that. So hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that was interesting to you guys. I want to be kind of honest with people. I feel like a lot of my brand, if I even have one, is pretty like candid, confessional work, right? That's very vulnerable. And so why wouldn't I do that on my stream? But it's weird because it's like, I don't feel like I've opened up and shared like my soul or anything like that. But it's honestly kind of embarrassing to admit, because I am a person who, like, like my, moderator. He's got a great line about comics where he said, make comics, not excuses. And here I've been making excuses. That's hard to admit. All right, let's get into it. But also, I can go two ways about it. One, I can like dig myself deeper and just be like, yeah, I should work on that, and then just kick the can down the proverbial road until I'm literally not a cartoonist. Or I can like man up and be like, if I want to call myself a cartoonist tonight, I have to work on cartooning. So let's get into it. If you guys are just tuning in, this is a live stream where I work on right now my graphic novel called Not Death But Love for Turner Publishing. That is a graphic novel about Elizabeth Barrett Browning and Robert Browning, and it's a historical fiction graphic novel, and I am knee deep in it. So tonight I'm going to be working on thumbnails for page 94. So let's do it. And then we're going to try to get to roughs. We'll see how far we get. Let's see. Oh, and then there's another thing. Like, I really was hoping, like, I even practiced this song because I wanted to show off my new beautiful guitar that I kind of showed very briefly when we had Jim Lujan on my last stream. And so I really wanted to play you guys a song, but I realized the time that I'm doing this, there's no way I'm going to be able to play you guys music because it's just, then I'd wake up my kid and then you have a kid who hasn't had sleep. And when you have a kid who hasn't had sleep, the next day can be hell, and hell for their teachers, and then hell for us. So better if my kid rests, gets his Z's and feels good. Philip said, also you brought that keyboard and organ. Yeah, so I found it's called a chord organ, and it's like a retro like air pump organ. And a pump organ's weird. It's powered by air, so it kind of sounds like an accordion. It kind of works like an accordion, where you have keys, and those open a valve, I think, that like air blows through, and it creates like the like, since it's a chord organ, there's buttons that the air creates a full chord, and then there's buttons or keys where the air just creates a single note. And the way that a chord organ works, so a pump organ's like you're usually like there's a pedal under the organ where you're pumping air. And a friend of mine who's at the recording studio where No Saboteurs, where we recorded, had a pump organ. We actually used it on one of our albums for like this piratey intro. But that's kind of a pain because you have to kind of pump your foot to blow air through the organ. And these geniuses, like right before synthesizers were invented, were like, hey, we have electricity. We could do pump organs with a fan. And so it's like, it's the same mechanism, the same build, but it just has a fan that blows the air. So you just kind of turn it on, and you literally hear like a fan just go like like a fan in your room. And then you play your keys, and it sounds like a accordion, very much like an accordion, but it's like set up like a keyboard. And it's super fun. Like, so I saw that there was one on Goodwill. Like, Goodwill has a website where they like show listings of like used stuff, and every once in a while, because I'm like a bargain hunting kind of guy and I have guitar acquisition syndrome, I'm always keeping a heavy eye on Goodwill, just in case. Like, who knows, maybe somebody will post like an original, I don't know, like 59 Gibson or something for like $100. It's never going to happen, but you always kind of have to keep an eye out just in case. Who knows, maybe that, maybe that, yeah, maybe that telly of your dreams from, like the 50, maybe an original Esquire, a Fender Esquire is up there, and somebody's stupidly giving it to Goodwill, having no idea what they're getting rid of. So that's the thinking behind why I'm on there. But I saw this pump organ. It was like $10. And I'm like, I got to get that thing. It looks super fun. Philip said, I used to play one years ago. I love them. Well, Philip, I don't know. I'm sure there's thrift stores in Canada. There's got to be. Goodwill might even do Canada. Is Goodwill in Canada? I don't know. Anyhow, there's got to be like thrift shops. If you do have thrift shops and they have online presence, just look for cord organs, man. You can find them for like $10. Because the one I got, it's not like it was like a steal. Like there were like 4 or 5 of them, like different models. So Philip, maybe you could regain one because it's like $10, you know. Anyhow, it was for me, and maybe it will be for you because I think it was a popular item in like the 70s, and I think now just a lot of people were like, "What are we gonna do with this nonsense? Let's just give it to the thrift shop," you know. And then weird musicians like me are like, "Oh yes," but that's cool that you played one. Yeah, they sound great. They sound great. Okay, now let's get into cartooning. Tuning. John said, "Oh hey woo, how's it going?" Oh hello, I get it. Hello instead of hello. I am so sleepy after the day that I thought you said hey woo. I didn't read the pronunciation of the L's as W's. Philip said, "Oh, we definitely have thrift shops. Goodwill left years ago, but we have Value Village. They stopped carrying electronics like that, though. Well, keep an eye out. Like, just, you know, you might even be able to find one used on like Reverb or like a used music site for like nothing, like next to nothing." John said, "I'm mostly popping in to say hello. I've been busy. I've got surgery coming up." And John said, "Good surgery." Well, that's good, John. I'm glad it's not bad surgery. Bad surgery is not anything anyone wants. Okay, let's rock and roll. Let's get into this. As usual, to my left, that's where we're going to work on our thumbnails. Before thumbnails, what I'm going to do is break down the script, which is right down there under the Wacom. And we're going to break that down into a list. I'm going to list out what I need to do for panels for the page. And then we're going to rock and roll, do thumbnails. And then from those thumbnails, we'll then work and do roughs. And we'll see how far we can get tonight before I am incoherently tired. Oh, nice. John said end of the month, so I want to make sure the house is extra clean and I got to find a cat sitter. Ooh, good luck with that. I would not be able to sit your cat, aside from not being in Canada. Even if I were like neighbors, I wouldn't, because I have cat allergies, which is awful. Because cats are really cute. But I'm telling you, I just got the genes when it comes to bad allergies. Because that's what like made the cold suck so bad the last few days, like or last few weeks. It wasn't just a cold. It's like I have these really awful allergies that are like just hay fever, but it's like, you know, the eyes, the nose just gets all sniffly and horrible, and then the throat's all sore and blah. Like I just sound like a weird old dying, you know, unhealthy guy. And then on top of that, having a cold, it's like, oh, that was like a beast. A beast. Okay. But again, here I am like complaining about a cold, right? Right. Okay. So let's get into this. So on our last page, we had Sophie is at the Reimer's residence, and she's just had went to a seance with her husband, and her husband kind of got bored during the seance, and Sophie kind of scolded her husband for like being bored and disinterested. Sophie's clearly kind of fascinated with home. Home has kind of crept up behind her as she's waiting for her carriage outside after the seance, and he's kind of made a not so subtle kind of pass at Sophie, but only after Sophie kind of asks him, like, "Hey, how do you do like?" She's basically saying, "Hey, can I level with you? Like, how do you fool people into believing your seances, right? And then he kind of makes a pass at her, and she basically says he's inappropriate. She's about to get in the carriage, which just pulls up with her husband in it. And so that's what we're seeing here. This is on the previous rough. And then now we're going to continue from there. So she's basically about to get in the carriage. Home kind of goes Miss Eckley, because she basically says, "Mr. Home, you take a liberty with you. I thought with me. I thought you were a gentleman." So now we're going to kind of move from there. So okay, the next thing that's going to happen on the script. Ooh, interesting. John said maybe another time, but there's some new research into allergies. If there's new research into allergies, send me whatever research you have. I'm down. But John said, I hope you feel better today. And then, yeah, anyhow. Oh, and then Philip said, I was about to do a short test stream until Josh jumped on. Oh, well, I'm sorry to interrupt your test stream. Okay, so let's do this. Let's break it down. So it's going to be now. Sophie is Sophie's going to turn to face him. So Sophie was like in the last panel. We had Sophie she's walking into the carriage. Okay, so panel 2 or panel 1. This is just our list. And this just to recap if anyone's new to this channel. So what I do again is like I break down the script into a list. From the list, I do thumbnails. From the thumbnails, I do roughs. And then once I have about 10 roughs for like 10 pages worth, then I start finalizing those pages and making final pages for my publisher. But the roughs are like for the publisher. The thumbnails are for me to know how to do the roughs better. And then the list is for me not to waste time on the thumbnails. It's kind of weird and convoluted, but this is how it's done. Oh, Philip said, not at all, Josh. It's nice to see you again. Well, I'm glad you're happy to see me again. I was a little worried I'd come back and people would be like, go away, Kemble. We don't need the Kremlin anymore. Okay, so here we go. We've got one that's going to be Sophie turns to H, to Home. Home says, you must believe it. So he's answering her question. I think we should actually have Home text. So this is going to be a shot behind Sophie, kind of from the carriage facing Home. So we're going to flip from the last panel. So whereas we have Home here and Sophie here, right? We're going to basically switch that around. So we'll go behind Sophie, and then it'll be almost like a reverse shot, over shoulder shot from Sophie looking to Home. And then we'll see Home kind of saying that. So we can kind of see it's like he's calling it out. Nice. John said, I'll see you guys. Be safe and have fun. Yeah, best of luck to you, John. I hope everything goes well with the surgery. Yeah. All right. So here we go. We're going to do so Home's going to say you must believe it. And then 2 can be like the same shot, and this will be Sophie text actually I think even a close up would be good. where she'll say, I beg your pardon. And then 3 can be home, text, and this can be wide. It says he returns his hat to his head, but we already had him return his hat to his head. So I don't think we're going to re-return his hat to his head. Hopefully that's an okay adaptation. We'll find out from the author. 4. And I know the next page, by the way, 95, is going to be a totally new scenario, so we're going to have to pull up a lot of research again. But that's for hopefully tomorrow night, depending on how far we get tonight. Okay, so then home is going to say, if I can be of any further assistance to you, you know where to find me. I am discreet. Ooh, again, the like kind of saucy. Home is a little sleazy here. Okay. So I'm going to do same shot, and this will be home, text, and then Sophie text. 5 will be steps. No, you know what? I like home text here. Same shot. And then we'll do Sophie to carriage. And then we'll have her saying, you are no gentleman, as she's stepping into the carriage. Because that makes more sense. Because it'd be weird if she said that and then stepped into the carriage. I think it makes more sense for her to step into the carriage saying that at the same time. Has more impact. And then we have 6, driver shuts door. Woohoo! You guys, we finished our list. So that's step 1. Yay! And it's going to be a 6-panel page, I'm guessing. Well, it might adapt. It might change. So we have our list. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some water. I'm going to play. It's been a while. It'll be fun. It's still relatively new. So I think what we'll do is play Frank Salazar's Adventures at the Library commercial for Jacob's Apartment and 2 Stories. It is phenomenal. And if you guys also, if you're watching this and you want me to help promote your stuff, I play these little 1-minute commercials. This one by Frank is extra long. I kind of was okay with it because he's the mod of the channel. But in general, you want to keep it around like a minute to a minute and a half. And if you make a video that's about a minute and a half, it's safe for work and mentions Jacob's Apartment and 2 Stories, but also, you know, mentions your own stuff and maybe where people can find you. It can be like a cross promotion thing, and it does me a favor because it gives me content to play during breaks. Feel free to send me videos and we'll try to get them up. Here is Frank's, and I will be shortly back, and we're going to rock and roll on the thumbnails.
Our heroic adventurers fought orcs, monsters, sorcerers, necromancers. Now they find themselves in front of a mystical library. What shall they find? It's all in the roll of the dice.
We've come this far. There's great power behind this door. I can feel it. We just have to get past it. This door is no match for my axe. I shall chop it down. You always want to use brute strength. Why don't you try knocking? We'll try it your way. You may enter. The library is open to all those who seek knowledge. Feel free to look through our tomes. Maybe you'll find the answers you seek. I sense great power here, and it's behind those shelves. Indeed, there are powerful items hidden behind these shelves. but you can only get there through the enchanted words. Do you have those words? I believe I do.
Tremble before the Cremble.
There is great power. Look at that glove. Must be so powerful. That is not where I sense this power. I must get closer. I found them. I found the sacred manuscripts written by Joshua Kemble. Behold, I now possess 2 stories and Jacob's apartment. Please tell us more about 2 stories and Jacob's apartment, and who is Joshua Kemble? Xeric Award-winning cartoonist Joshua Kemble is a freelance artist, graphic designer, and author. 2 Stories is a confessional graphic memoir that grapples with questions of faith, mental illness, depravity, and ultimately redemption in a fallen world. Jacob's Apartment is a coming-of-age graphic novel in the vein of Ghost Road and Fun Home. It weaves together the threads of spiritual faith, identity, purpose, love, and loss to create an engrossing world in which waking and sleeping dreams collide. You have made your choice. The passage is now closed. Wait, can I get that glove? No. Oh. All right, let's go.
I love that. Thanks again to Frank Salazar for rocking that amazing, like it had like stop motion in it. It had like a custom made little library shelf with my books on it and like a bunch of cool like role playing action going on. I don't know if well, I think the last time I got that much of a kick out of something was when Jim Lujan made a little cartoon for me for my breaks. So anyhow, thanks Frank, thanks to the community that provides such fun content and supports me doing my weird thing that is this channel. And we're gonna get into it. So okay, so this is gonna be a slightly slow process, not super slow. I want to see Sophie. This is my reference for Sophie. I want to see, where's my reference for home? Tell me I have my reference for home. Here he is, the devilish magician himself. And now we're going to get into it. So what we're going to do is the reverse shot of this. This horse here. Okay. All right. We're going to do, I think we'll start with home. I want home basically saying, you must believe it. So we're going to have home here. And hopefully all the little life drawings I've been doing will have me all nicely warmed up to kind of stay like nice and loose while I'm doing my thumbs. I think his eyebrows should be up. And then he's going to have, he has like such an interesting face. But he also has, I've done him with a little bit more of a handlebar than the actual one because it's just fun. Handlebar mustaches are fun to draw. I don't know if you guys knew that. So I'm going to have him, I want his eyes a little wider and his eyebrows higher. I know I'm like nitpicking his expression, but that's like half of what I want to get across here. And I'm probably being a little too tight on a thumbnail, but that's okay. And I say that right after I'm like, hey, maybe these life drawings have made me nice and loose and ready to rock. Okay. There we go. And then we'll have like homes like kind of thing. I'm going to just draw him big and then I'll probably reduce him down because that's the beauty of working and sketching digitally. He has kind of like really deep set eyebrows, so this is an unusual expression for him. But that's okay. Because I want him to be kind of leveling. You know what? Maybe his eyebrows shouldn't be up, because that's a little less... I like him being kind of mysterious. So maybe he's more... Maybe he's more intense. Yeah, that actually makes more sense. It makes more sense to have him kind of intense. Okay, so he's going to be kind of saying... and he's holding a top hat. So we had already established that in the last panel. So he's going to be kind of holding his top hat. We're going to start with his face, and then we'll kind of work from there. So I like the idea. What hand did I have his top? Oh, wait, never mind. He's wearing his top hat. I thought he was going to be holding his top hat. Again, this is the problem of working sequentially. You got to keep track. Is the hat on the head? Is the hat in the hands? And believe me, when you work on your first comic, if you haven't worked on a comic before or a children's book, be prepared for those little mistakes where you're like, oh, I have this person holding this in their left hand, and now they're holding it in their right magically. And once you know, and then you start noticing it even in like some of the best of work, where like just with the intense level of drawing and pages that are required in comics, people just slip up and somebody's got a watch on in one panel and then the watch disappears. There's a lot of magic that happens with these things. I want his hands out kind of explaining. Splaining. He's got some splaining here. Okay. Okay. And then we're going to have his like vesty thing. What is a vestibule? I just thought of that. I don't even remember what that is. But I was realizing I'm drawing a vest and I wanted to say vestibule, but then I was like, is a vestibule is that a bad thing? I can't remember what a vestibule is. But it's a great word. Okay. So we got Mr. Home. He's going to be, again, like this is him kind of giving a pro tip to... Now, in the context of this story, this is like one huckster kind of spotting one of their own. So, and it'll kind of become more and more clear as we go. But it's like that thing where, like a movie with like somebody who's like a thief or something, right? And they're a charlatan, and then maybe they're about to like scalp a purse or something, and they run into somebody else who's about to like steal a purse or a watch, and like they recognize their own. It's like that kind of moment where it's like he knows that she's up to no good. She knows that he's up to no good. She wants to know his tricks, so that she can be up to even more nefarious trickery. And he is intrigued because he's like, like a protege, kind of a classic plot structure type thing. Got a villain and a villain in training. He's a fun villain, though. I do dig him. Okay. Like, you'll see. As the plot goes, he's very fun. Not fun. He's, like, totally despicable, and you kind of hate him by the end of it. But, like, he's fun in the sense of... Anybody who makes stories will tell you that. Like, the villains are always kind of fun. They're fun to draw. Their story arcs are fun. The villains are just more fun. I don't know. Yeah, anyhow. Okay, so there he is. He's going to be saying, "You must believe it." And we're going to have this be almost like a reverse shot. I don't even know if it's going to show the full hymn. The full hymn. This is going to be of Sophie kind of looking from, maybe I'll make them seem a little closer. So we're going to have Sophie from here. And Sophie is going to be observing. By the way, my wife is also pulling a late night working on her 5 billionth kids book. If you guys haven't yet, Maya, is it the purple papaya? Oh, she's probably listening to headphones. I think that the name of the one she just finished is the purple papaya. And it's really cool. So if you want a good kids book, latest one of like a million that my wife, Mai S. Kemble, M-A-I-S Kemble, spelt same way mine is. Yeah, you can check out her latest one that came out. It's actually really cool. And I think it's on Amazon, I would guess. Might be on their website only though. But yeah, look it up. Purple papaya. It's a fun one. Okay. She is wearing a shawl. I was about to have her wearing her dress, and she's wearing a shawl. And it's going to be kind of draped here. So actually, should be kind of draped down. And I like her arm kind of being to the side almost. And we're going to have... I'm going to have her hand almost like kind of getting in the door. And then we're going to think about kind of roughly working out this thing in reverse. So we're going to have like a door. It's going to be kind of open, sort of going back. It's got like a thing here. Keep in mind, this is a thumbnail and I'm doing it way too tight. No, that's the wrong direction. I was going to have her hand in the doorway. So actually, instead, we'll have this actually kind of be like slightly open. And then we'll have that kind of window. And there is like kind of a cutting off here and then maybe some like woodwork type stuff. So then we're going to have the door is going to close slightly from here. So this might be like going through, and I almost like the idea of thinking of how that's going to work. Okay, and then we're going to have this sort of go like this. Maybe in here, yeah, that's going to be a closed area because that's the area for the cabbie. And I think about here, we're going to probably start seeing the seat. And then we're going to have our bench here. I'm going to have to move him down because now he's like floating, you know. Again, that's the fun thing about working digitally. Back in the day, artists, like when I learned illustration, actually, we were taught like the old hat way of doing this, where when an artist or an illustrator was doing a rough, you would basically do this on tracing paper. And then if you like wanted to move things around, you just lay a sheet of tracing paper over the tracing paper that you started. And like you'd like, for instance, I want to move him up. I would like put a piece of tracing paper, trace over my drawing of him, and then I'd move the tracing paper up and then trace over the drawing of the horse or whatever, and like be able to kind of adjust that way. So that's the old hat way that illustrators used to do that. And then once you had, your final drawing with all the proportions and stuff that you liked, fixing everything, then you would like transfer over onto like illustration board or, bristle board or whatever your final board was going to be, using graphite from your tracing paper kind of rough, which would be a lot easier to just show rather than tell. And maybe if one of these days, I'm working on things the old way, I could show you guys what I'm talking about. I don't know if they still train it that way though. Probably not, I would guess. It was valuable though. Like, one thing I will recommend for artists or people like learning skills is like the one of the best ways to like get good at like digital or at anything is really like try to figure out, like, know what you're mimicking, right? So like if you're doing digital painting, try your hat at like actually working in acrylic and oil and watercolor and gouache and stuff like that. And then when you have worked in those mediums, then when you're working digitally, you'll have a much better idea of like what you're emulating, right? So it'd be almost like if you're going to play synthesizer for something, it might not hurt to like learn piano, which by the way, I'm the exact opposite of that when it comes to like, I got that organ. I have no idea how to play piano. I know what a dead note sounds like. I know what a good note sounds like. So I have an ear, but I don't. I have no idea how to play piano. But I would probably be better even on that little organ thing if I learned how to play organ or piano. I'd probably be better at it. And if I wanted to do that professionally, it would be really smart to learn before just kind of noodling around and being like, why does this not work? So anyhow, learning those foundations, especially with art, or at least being familiar with them so you can kind of know what the program is doing. And then, even if you want to break the rules, at least you'll know the rules you're breaking, If you guys are watching this and you're working on something, I'd love to hear what you're working on. I always like knowing what other folks are doing. So this will be kind of like the doorway. That's going to actually go back quite a ways. I know this building has some stuff. So we'll see a little bit of that. And then I think what we'll do is, I know there's like trees and stuff too. So we might kind of want to emulate a little bit of that. Okay, so we're going to have like our tree here. And I think that'll do it. This is like way too tight for a thumbnail. But that's cool because that's going to save us like so much work on the rough. It's funny. I always like fluctuate between the two of like being like, I shouldn't be too tight on the roughs. And then, I mean, at least I'm kind of in a good drawing zone. So like, it's okay for me to get a little tight with this. But there's some days where I'm not in a good drawing zone. And then I'm also being too tight and too detailed. And that's the doom era where you're losing more time in the thumbnail stage than you're gaining from doing thumbnails. But in this case, I'm going to call this one of the ones where it's good. It's good tight. Okay, so there we go. We've got, he's supposed to be saying something, so I need to allot that space where he's going to be saying, you must believe it. So this whole tree thing is probably going to disappear, at least a good chunk of it. And again, we'll worry about that text when it comes to final. So I just need a little placeholder. Okay, so there we go. Thumbnail for panel 1 is done. I'm going to call this layer roughs that I'm doing this on. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to my list layer. I like to do this because check marks feel really good. And I'm going to check that off. All right, we're getting there. The other thing I will point out is that even though I'm doing the reverse shot, I am still keeping the line of action. So the line of action when you're doing sequential work is Sophia's on the left, home is on the right. Okay? This is the reverse shot almost, but I'm still keeping her on the left because she was on the left on the last page and on the right, and home was on the right. So we're still kind of keeping that line of action. The line of action's like you have person A talking to person B. And if your next panel is, this, you've crossed the line, which is a problem. Unless you do a direct 360, like you do like a 180. You do like a complete opposite shot. But even that can throw people off and make it feel like time has passed, like more time. So it's a good way to, like, if you want to have like a montage sequence, crossing the line of action isn't bad because that actually shows like passage of time and it kind of makes people feel separated from sequential work. But otherwise, it's good to, like, again, if like character A is on the left, character B is on the right, whatever your next panel is, if it has those characters, you want to, like, let's say it's like character A here, character B here. Even if your next one's like a close-up, you probably want character A still, like, let's say it's an over shoulder, and then you want character B, right? You always kind of want to keep left, right. Unless like time is shifted or something like that, or the scene has changed. Anyhow, that's a little tip on sequentials. Okay, I'm in the zone and I'm not stressed, and it's only 10. So I think what we'll do is we're going to play another trailer and keep that positive, low stress zone going. So, because right now I'm earning the right to be a cartoonist. So, by actually working, and I've started, which is really exciting. So let's continue the good vibes and let's watch. Let's watch Wordzoid by Jim Lujan, a brilliant cartoon that he made for this channel.
Well, Peter, since I'm such a big music fan, I'm going to have to go with Karen Carpenter. Oh, Stu, I'm sorry. That's the incorrect answer. Trish, what you got for us?
I'm gonna go with Kim Gordon.
All right, let's check that answer. Kim Gordon. Do we have a Kim Gordon? Yes, and that means you're our new Wordzoid champion, Trish. Dale, tell Trish what she's won.
Trish, you've won a copy of 2 stories, a memoir of faith and mental illness. Handwritten, hand-drawn, and handed to you by artist and writer Joshua Kemble. But wait, that's not all. You've also won a copy of Jacob's Apartment, the story of a doomed romance. What happens when you take Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and put it in a blender with Ghost World? You get Jacob's Apartment, written and illustrated by Joshua Kemble. Trish, thank you for playing Wordzoid.
All right, great job, Trish.
I was told I was gonna get a lifetime supply of paper towels.
I love that one. Okay, so we're going to continue our thumbnails. I hope you guys are having a rockin' day. The next one is Oh, you know what? I made a sequential error. Let's fix that. Sophia has her rows actually on her right side, and I have gotten so used to drawing her from the front that I was like, oh, it's on the left. So there you go. There's a sequential error that, had we not done roughs or thumbnails, would have been a nightmare to fix, and it took 2 seconds to fix here. Boom. The other thing is her hair's up in a bun. So another sequential error that it takes 2 seconds to fix doing thumbnails. Right? So again, I'm going to do tight roughs over this. So super loose. It's okay to be super loose. Okay. Now we're going to do a close up of Sophia where she's saying, I beg your pardon. So she should look kind of shocked here. And I also want to have the indication of the doorman's hand because he was opening the door. So we're just going to indicate that. We'll do a better job on the roughs. Or so I say. Who knows? Okay, so we're going to do our close-up of Sophia like we mapped out in our little thing. And this is going to be a little slimmer. I don't know why I'm drawing the box first. I never should draw the box first. Okay. So I want this to be like just keeping it kind of varying and interesting. And I think her eyes should be more looking towards where he would be. And maybe it's one eyebrow up. There we go. And I've drawn her too big again, so we'll reduce this head quite a bit. Okay. Might be a little too small now. There we go. So she's going to be sort of saying, like, I beg your pardon. And here she's going to have her rose or whatever. Da, da, da. I want it almost like she's leaning in. So there we go. That's going to be her saying, I beg your pardon. And we can't, lest we not forget that we have a door here. So we can kind of use that slightly creatively to almost like frame her face. And then we can have just a re-indication of like, okay, we got our dude here. This man is another man with a top hat, the carriage driver. And he's, patiently here with his little carriage driver business going on. That's the official Victorian verbiage there. And I think maybe this hand will be here, and this hand that we saw kind of in the extreme. Okay, cool. There we go. That's our, let's go back to our list. Chapow. For 3, we were thinking of doing a wide shot. Now I'm reconsidering the wide shot. And by the way, if you guys are watching this, we're about an hour in. If you can, hit that like button. Or as the kids say, smash that like button. But it always feels weird to say that because I don't want you hurting the like button. Just click it, you know. But that does help people find this channel. And so just hitting like right now, I think we got 5 people watching. Just 5 likes at least would be nice. I know a lot of you are like listening and you're like, yeah, I'll hit like at some point. Maybe you're like doing something. Just pause, like go to the video, hit like. And if you haven't yet, consider subscribing. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat too. I will happily tackle questions. If you have a really pressing thing you want me to say, I take super chats. But yeah, so that is that. And it is the cool thing to do. You want to be cool, then do that. And you're going to feel cooler than cool. And what's cooler than cool? Ask Outcast. Okay. So H text wide. Does wide make sense here? I feel like it actually should be kind of intimate. Should this be another close up? I don't want it to be talking heads. Adam said, question, how is your new chord organ? It is rad. I'm digging it. I haven't been able to mess with it as much as I'm going to this weekend. I'll probably be bringing it to my friend and No Saboteurs member, who's also named Josh. We play music on Sundays, and I think whatever we end up recording next is going to be using it because it's just so cool and weird. And it does this kind of interesting thing when you kind of half press the button where it blows like less air through it. So it kind of wavers in this like creepy way. And I think I want to take advantage of that for a song. So yeah, but I'm digging it. And Adam, the chord organ actually reminds me, it's funny, but Adam, I literally thought of you when I bought it. Because I was like, I bet Adam Lore would be all about this thing. Just because I know you're into those old school keyboards and organs and stuff. So, and by organs I mean human organs. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm getting goofy. Let's see here. So we have, but no, the chord organ's really cool. If you guys haven't yet, I mean, they're like, again, you can get them at thrift stores for like $10. And I couldn't believe it when I got it because I was like, this is rad. It sounds so cool. And it's pretty easy to play. So it'll be fun to use. I might use it for some solo stuff too with like acoustic once I'm able to. I'll try to play you guys something like Saturday, at least. I might be able to stream at a reasonable hour where I could play you guys something. Adam said, definitely into the chord organ, one of the first instruments I had. Nice. Yeah, it's so funny how nostalgia works too. Because I've literally like, the first guitar I ever had was like a terrible, terrible guitar. And I have browsed eBay just thinking, should I get that again? Just because like I have this, there's like a nostalgia to it. And I kind of wonder, is it as bad as I remember it? Like, I'm pretty sure it is because it literally was like 2 pieces of plywood, like almost like, yeah, you can look them up on what my first guitar was. It was a brand called Synsonics. and they sold it through Sears catalog. And the really nice ones were Harmony, and those cost like $50 more than these Sensonics things. And that's all I could afford was the Sensonics thing from mowing lawns all summer. And so I bought myself an electric guitar from Sears catalog, not at the time knowing anything about like music stores and that there were stores that sold guitars and that you could go to pawn shops. And like, I didn't know any of that stuff. I was just a kid who, nobody in my family really played music. We didn't have a lot of money. So it was like, okay, but you ordered everything at the time. That's where you'd order stuff. Sears catalog. Anyhow, so it was literally a piece of plywood, and there was like the fancy Sensonics that had its own speaker in it, and that cost more. I think that was like $15 more. So I got the one without the speaker. So if you can find pictures of that online, you'll see what I was working with. It was literally, I think the fretboard was even cardboard, and they just not card. Well, it was almost cardboard, but it was just plywood. And I think they had just spray painted the fretboard black. Like, it's because I remember when you played it, your fingers wouldn't be black from the paint on the board. But there's no way that thing was actually like rosewood or ebony or anything. It was just plywood, where they had just hammered some frets into there. Yeah, that was an interesting guitar. But there's a part of me that kind of wants to get into that. Whereas the chord organ's functional, it's like that would be a great like first instrument, It's more functional than a lot of like keyboards. And super simple. Okay, what were we doing? I got distracted by the chord organ stuff. I'm a cartoonist tonight, guys. I need to be. Okay, we're going to do a closer shot of home, because I feel like this is a real, like, they're connecting here. And I think he's going to be tipping his hat here, because that actually makes sense. So I kind of want to have home, and I need to look at, like, I try not to look at my drawing of home, because I want to still feel the vibe of the reference of home. Okay. So this is going to be home kind of leaning down, maybe even more than that. Did I draw that on the wrong? Yeah, I did. So we're going to do home kind of leaning down even more than that. So I think I'm going to do this, where it's, I want him kind of leaning to the side. And then we'll have kind of this, where he's going to be, we'll kind of draw it through almost so we can get it accurate. So he's going to be kind of tipping his hat with his hands. And I think even here, we might even do, maybe that's too much rim of the hat. But I like the idea of him kind of looking up. There we go. That's kind of the way I want it to be. This is like his little dark tip. Basically saying to like pull off fraud, you have to believe it yourself. Which is a thing I've heard. I've known people. Well, no, I haven't known. Why am I saying I've known people? I've watched documentaries about cults and stuff like that, and cult leaders. And a lot of people who like lead cults and stuff like that, like they will literally convince themselves through and through, like they'll start out as like a scam. Like, let's say it's like the faith healing scam or something. They'll start it out like fully knowing they're ripping people off. But after doing it for a couple years, some of these people like will literally think they are healing people, even though they set up the gimmick. They know the trick. Like, they just do it so often and they get so roused by their own performance that they'll start believing it. And then that makes them a lot more compelling to believe, I think. So it's believable that, to me, it's believable in this story that would be Holmes' kind of tip of like how he makes people fall for his shenanigans, which is a great word. When was the last time, if you're listening, that you use the words shenanigans? It's a wonderful word. And I think his arm, maybe even, there we go. Maybe his arm's even out more. And he's going to be kind of staring. And we'll probably pull in a little. No, you know what? That works. And then we'll have. He's saying, if you believe it, they'll believe it. He's a motivational speaker. Okay. What do we got? I don't like that placement for the type. I kind of want, changing my mind here, because I want her in the foreground, like severely in the foreground. Severely. So she's here. She's here. He's here. We'll put the text betwixt the two. Betwixt them. And maybe this will be the horse or whatever. And the horse is going to be, this is for Adam. The horse is going to be like, no, sir, I didn't like it. That was the best bit in all of Ren and Stimpy. One of my favorite bits was the Mr. Horse bit. One of my favorite episodes, I can't remember what it was called. I think it was like the fire station or something. But it's like basically Ren and Stimpy are firemen for this episode. Because they're always kind of like running from one career to the other to kind of make a quick buck. But in this one, there's like this lady, like a really obese lady stuck in the top of a building. And it's like a burning building. And they're trying to get a ladder up to save her. And as they're getting the ladder up there, she just keeps going. Well, like it starts with her being like, oh no, you have to save my baby. And so like she throws out a baby. And of course the baby ends up being huge. Like it looks like a tiny baby at first. This is my memory of it. I haven't watched it in years. And then I think it ends up being like this humongous baby, but she basically just starts throwing things out the window saying like, save my baby, save my, basket, save my, and then at one point she goes, save my horse. And she puts Mr. Horse out the window and drops him on them. So Mr. Horse like falls. he like hits the side of the building each time. He's like, like, because it's a skyscraper, you know, and they're like firemen in the fire truck trying to get the ladder up there, and then they're trying to like position the little trampoline thing to catch Mr. Horse as he's falling, and then I think they miss him and he splats on the ground and his like all his bones are broken. And then oh yeah, I think that was the final one, was like, save my walrus. But anyhow, Mr. Horse, like after he's landed, totally missed, like they missed saving him. He gets up, like he's like kind of crawling, like like pushing his way up, and this like news reporter's microphone like goes in his face as he's just like like he's dragging himself away from the fall with his like broken body. And they're like, Mr. Horse, what did you think of that fall? And he's like, no sir, I didn't like it. It was such a good episode. If you guys haven't watched that, you should watch it. Wonderful. I just realized how nonsensical that would sound to anybody who hasn't watched Ren and Stimpy. Yeah, I forgot about the walrus bit. That was a good capper to it. Save my walrus. And then I think at the end, it's like the biggest bit is save me. And she's like huge, you know? So they have to like find a way to save this gigantic woman after saving her walrus and her horse. That was a great show. Okay. It was fun, you know? It had that like quirky humor. Okay, so that's going to be it for that. So we got some stuff going on here. That's going to be him saying, if you believe it, they'll believe it. That, I got to fix that. That's not going to work. That ain't going to work here. Okay, I got to fix the text balloon. The text balloon is not working. We fix it. It's going to need to be bigger, and it could have better spacing. That's an awkward shape for a text balloon. You know what? We're getting rid of the horse. Sorry, Mr. Horse, you're gone. It's a little awkward to have it between them, too. But I think that could work. I think we can make it work here. Yep, that's going to be it. Cool. Boom. We're also doing thumbs, not finals here, so. We're doing thumbs here. Who has 2 thumbs and is doing thumbs? This guy right here. All right. If you guys are listening and you watched Ren and Stimpy, what was your favorite Ren and Stimpy episode? That would be fun to hear. We're going to see some building here. Adam said you're doing substitute teaching right now. Is that right? Yes, I am, and I'm enjoying it, weirdly enough. Probably not going to do that long term. I'm probably looking more for like a CTE position where, you know, hopefully I could, you know, teach art or something in high school. It's funny because like a tenure track position opened at my alma mater, and in the past I would have jumped on that and been like, because I love that school and I love the idea of teaching illustration, and a tenure track position at a college that's like prestigious and fun, and I have friends who work there. I would have jumped all over that like 2 or 3 years ago, and I don't want to apply there because I like my house. I like where I live. I don't want to commute like forever. I realize like haven't done that for like 10 years, like for a decent career, to just like commute for like 4 hours a day. It's just not worth it. It's not worth the commute. Or to like have to move and like live in some like really bad neighborhood, in order to like, I don't know, like appease my ego or something. It's just not worth it. I don't know. So, and also my son's like situated here. He likes his school. So we're going to make it work here. And even if that means me just like subbing, that's fine. I'll take it. But yeah, we'll see. What do we got? It's weird to me that I'm so much happier doing this than I was art directing. I don't know. I don't know what that says. Okay. If you believe it, they will believe it. And then return. Okay, hat. So he's tipping his hat. Oh, Sven Hoek's one of my favorites. Oh, man. Stimpy's invention's great, too. I mean, that's just classic, I mean, the Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy song and stuff, it's so good. But then, like, and that is really classic. And the expressions drawn on Ren as he's, like, forced to smile and he's, like, dancing against his will. It's the best. And also just the, it's your friend Stinky Weasel Teats. Like, this is the Happy, Happy, Joy song. Like, it's so good. But then the Sven Hoek one is so good because like there's a bit that the animation in it is some of the funniest stuff I've seen. Where, well, there's a couple moments. Like there's one where it's just voice acting humor, where it's like wee wah wee, like like Stimpy and Sven are just going like wow wah wee, like. But then there's this scene in that to me is so classic where they're for like, in my memory it's like for, it's just Sven and Stimpy like just pressing their faces and making funny faces on a piece of glass. Oh, Thomas Adams nailed it too. Space Madness is a great one. Those were just great episodes. Oh, and the part where in the Space Madness one, I think my favorite bit in that is where Ren starts calling the soap bar his ice cream bar. And he starts chewing on it and he has like soap suds coming out of his mouth. They definitely like, it was a good balance where it was Ren was almost like a Donald Duck type character where you really liked seeing him just like flip out, And much like Donald Duck, he's like a little conniving and he's a little clever and he thinks he's smarter than Stimpy. So you kind of want to see him get it, And he's a little bit selfish. And so like Ren kind of has that, I don't know, it's like a classic comedic thing, where like you kind of see karma catch up to him and he's fun to watch just lose his mind and flip out. Oh my gosh. Anyhow, okay, I am losing focus here. Okay, hat to head. So where are we here on the list? We got 3 panels done. Same shot, and this was him going to be saying, okay, this is going to have to return us to the normal. Okay, so I'm going to move home. So his next thing is going to be, if I can be of any service to you, where to find me, I am discreet. So I'm wondering, I think we need to pull out, because otherwise it is going to be a lot of talking heads. And that's okay to have talking heads sometimes. Every rule can be broken a bit. I don't like seeing this stupid box. Like, how? Oh, there we go. That's new, that like, there's like this little floaty box that that has all the selection options, and I'm like, I don't want to see that nonsense. Like it's anyhow, I just don't want to see it while I'm drawing. Okay, so, but I just realized you can move it, like the genius that I am. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna have this possibly kind of return us, but I think this one, just to kind of keep it, again, kind of intimate, will be kind of home. Home's eye shouldn't be that far. It should be kind of, there we go. And then I think we'll have this almost like his tangle of hair. We'll even cheat the perspective a little bit. You kind of have to do this in side shots and comics a lot. At least I do. Where you're going to have like the profile of somebody in the foreground. You can kind of fake it a little bit. Like in reality, Home is going to be, he's like looking over here in reality, but you can kind of fake it to where it's like he's looking like in that direction rather than this true direction, right? That's something I do. Because it just it's like, it's kind of like if you're filming. This is something a lot of people don't realize. Like if you're filming a video and you're having two people talk like really close on screen, even though it's like a really close distance for normal people to talk, it looks like they're like a mile apart. So a lot of movies, when like it's a real intimate conversation, people are literally like a millimeter apart, like their noses are almost touching, like, and it doesn't look as close on screen as it does in reality. It's like this weird just illusion. So there's tricks like that also I think apply to sequential. We got Philip saying howdy dudes. Howdy dude. How do you do? What are you guys working on? I'd love to hear it. Does you know what was another great one? Just for a bit on Ren and Stimpy, the Muddy Mud Skipper show ad. Actually, that whole one, I can't remember what it was called. I think it was called like Stimpy Goes to Hollywood. I think that was the name. I can't remember the name of that episode. But that one's great too. I really enjoyed that one. Because that had the ad for all the fake ads in Ren and Stimpy, like the gritty kitty litter ad where it like shows him like, and then Stimpy's response to gritty kitty litter where he like squeezes it like this gross little like kitty litter between his like toes. So good. Philip said, I just ran a couple of short streaming tests with Streamlabs. How did it go? That almost sounds like the setup for a joke where you're like, I just flew into town. And boy, are my arms tired. I just ran a stream through StreamYards, and boy, am I don't know. There's got to be a punchline to that, if you guys can come up with one. Okay. But anyhow, literally, how did it go is what I want to know here. I want to know, Philip. Give me the information. Okay. Anyhow, as I said at the top, though, it's been an interesting adjustment, just like shifting things and stuff like that. And I definitely have had too much time away from the drawing board. This is going to be her saying she's going to be getting in the carriage here. So we're going to have her kind of getting in the carriage. And maybe her hand is up here. This is going to be her hand kind of. Where would her. Let me see. It's probably going to be like more like hand down here. Okay. Just trying to kind of figure out that positioning. And then we can have Eckley, or her husband, is going to be here. And he has. So he'll be already seated. So we have them kind of sitting. And this will be the carriage. The base of the carriage. And we'll have that open. And then there is that like interior window thing. And it's kind of a wide opening here. And then we'll have our kind of carriage wheel. And let's see here. The sort of front of the carriage, the carriage. And this is again a thumbnail. But this will be her saying, you know, you are no gentleman. Wait. Am I getting this right? Yes. So that's going to be her saying, you are no gentleman. And this will be the open carriage door. And then kind of want the brim of that hat to allow for more space. Okay. So now, Philip said, I saw you deleted and kicked that troll last night. I had a hard time talking and dealing with him, so I was really glad you took care of it. And then Adam said, no problem. I was trying to get... You got to tell me about the troll now. You guys... Do you guys have a tale of a troll? I have to know. I have to know the troll tale. Okay. And this is going to be the driver closing the door. You know what? Let's see where the next one starts. Oh, cool. Okay. So we're going to do this a little more. We're going to add something, actually, that I think will add a little more mystique to it. And you know what's neat? These thumbs look fine. So I don't think, again, like I've had moments like this before, but I don't think we're going to need to add a lot to them to kind of make it work. So this will be the carriage driver. He's shutting the door. And that's going to be the door getting shut on the carriage, the carriage. And then we're going to be having our carriage here. That's going to have its little thing. I am like getting a little too like this on my line rather than this. So I got to Loosen up again. Remember my me life drawings here. And I like the idea of this being kind of here. And then we'll have our horse rump. Sort of chilling. And we'll have our carriage thing here. And I like the idea of this being okay. So that's going to be the second to last one. And then this last one can be home. Maybe this will be the carriage from above with home kind of standing here. This is the thought. Where it could be home like from above. This is just thinking. Again, this might be a silly thing to add. But I like the idea of now we have the carriage driver. He's going to be kind of sitting here. We'll have the horse sort of pulling out of there. And maybe the carriage. Maybe home will be a little bit here. And we'll have like our staircase. This will be the side of the building. No, not the side of the building. It's a weird angle. Okay, I like that. And then this can be the kind of sidewalk that we were seeing. This will be like the thing. And then this, I know I'm like saying a lot of weird stuff, but there's like a fountain thing that's over here. And that'll be kind of like what this is. And then this can be the the surrounding bushes or whatever. And then this can be like the road. I actually like that a lot. So that'll kind of give an exit to the scene, right? Philip said, someone came into my live stream leaving crude comments, so I kicked them, but he would keep coming back with a new account. When Adam bumped him, I think he got the hint. And I had mods. The hint I had mods and quit. And then Adam said, pretty weak effort on the troll's part, just saying things like poop and pee. And then Philip said he was pretty childish. I think it was likely a kid. Yeah. A lot of the time, I think it is, or it's a person who's, kid-like. Okay, I think we got that. We got our list. We got our home reference. I think our Sophia reference we don't need. I think at this point, what we can do is I'll turn on my borders. I'm going to go ahead and click the roughs. We're going to do like a cyan. And you know what's funny? I was feeling trepidation about working tonight, like a real like resistance about it. And now I feel like in the zone. And I can't say enough like how much of a difference that makes. Just sitting down and doing the work, because that's half the work, is just getting started, getting in the zone, like starting to just draw. Because like once you start creating, it's kind of fun and addictive, but it's like there's this weird thing that happens, at least for me, in my mind, where I'll like psych myself out and forget that it's fun. And then when I do it, I'm like, oh yeah, this isn't too bad, It's It's kind of rewarding. So now we're going to do our panel borders. And honestly, some of these we may not even need to redraw. We just need to resize so they fit. I'm just adjusting these panel borders to work for the roughs. And then we'll just kind of tighten up the thumbnail and turn it into a rough and then call it a night. So we're about probably like a half hour to an hour away from done. I'm going to go ahead and save where we're at. Adam asked if I had read Bill Watterson's book, and I have not read Bill Watterson's new book yet, and I would like to. Is it worth reading, Adam? That's a good question. He has a different illustrator doing it. The illustrations look lovely for it, though. And then Adam asked if I read Dan Klaus's Monica yet. No, I haven't had, like, because of the shift of career stuff, I've just like basically been working, and then I got sick. So I was just working, and then I'd come home and like crash or like watch Ben or whatever, and then just go back to work. Like, and so like a lot of my art consuming time has disappeared as well, but I should get Monica because I've read most work by Daniel Klaus, and I should definitely check out Bill Watterson's thing, because that's, if like 10 years ago somebody told me Bill Watterson was releasing something, I would have been like, oh my gosh, I would have been about it. So that hasn't changed. I just need to get on those. Have you read them? And what are your thoughts on those, Adam? All right. We're going to play the trailer, the second trailer by Mr. Lujan, which is Kids Say Kemble. And then when we come back, we're going to go ahead and finalize these roughs, and then we'll call it a night. So here is the Kids Say Kemble.
We know the Georgia kids say the craziest thing.
So, little Susie, do you have any brothers or sisters? I understand you're in 3rd grade. How do you like that? Do you like your teacher? You like to do a lot of fun things at school? You got any hobbies, Susie? Any things you like to do when you're not in school? I hear you like to read.
Well, right now I'm reading 2 stories written and illustrated by Joshua Kemble. It grapples with faith and mental illness. It's ultimately a story about redemption. It's a savage piece of writing. Also, I just finished up Jacob's Apartment, another one by Kemble. Jacob's Apartment weaves together elements of spiritualism and relationship dynamics, as well as atheism, and all the while it deals with abandonment and loyalty. It's a fierce, fierce read.
Do you like ponies?
So what's cool, other than the amazing commercial Jim made for me that we just watched, what's cool is it's like the return of the Night Gang. I'm going to be having to do not the kind of nights I was doing, before, but like more Night Gang-ish nights. So we're going to go ahead and size these thumbnails. And some of these I'm really happy with the drawings. Like, I don't think it needs to be much tighter. I might just add shading to some of these, because I actually think they're pretty good for roughs, honestly. Those last 2 panels, and maybe that one that I'm like the 4th might need a little bit more work. But honestly, they do the job. I kind of like this if this were a little wider. Okay. So there's a couple of these that are totally usable as roughs. Like I think this first one might actually work as a rough. I like the first two as a rough. So we'll see. Adam said, I haven't read Monica, mixed feelings on the mysteries, but there's a great video about their creative process on it. Nice. I'll check that out. Okay. Let's get going. Okay. So this is going to be keepable, but I want to do a better job on the word balloon and then maybe tighten up some of the details. So let's see what we can do here. So I'm going to do, you know what? We'll keep it. I shouldn't have gone black yet. We'll keep it. This is going to be in italics. You. And then it's going to be must. Believe it. And then we'll just do a little bit of a tighter word balloon. And I think maybe we can. Okay. Now let's see what we can do with we'll turn this to black. Oh, I just wanted to turn that one panel to black for now. You know what we'll do instead? We'll do copy, edit, paste in front. And then we'll do this is black. Nice. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and adjust this now. Oh. Wait. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and adjust this now to where we're getting rid of some of this excess. Maybe some of this excess. Just to like clean it up a little bit. And then we might add some like details like maybe the horizon line a little bit. And I think that's actually pretty good, except clarifying some things might be good. Okay, so now I'm going to do our shading. And we might actually be done with the rough for panel 1 pretty soon, which is actually really cool. But that's just because I was a little too tight on my thumbnails, but I like that. Like that was a little more work at the beginning for a thumbnail, but it's saving me time later on. That does not always work out that way. This is going to be just totally dark. And now we'll do our home stuff. Home has dark hair. He's going to be somewhat shrouded in darkness. This is definitely going to be kind of more shaded. It's going to get darker as it goes, and then it's night sky. So, and we can clarify this with like a more kind of solid line. I'm like losing a little bit of detail here because I did, draw it slightly light, which is okay. I could also just darken the contrast, but we'll just kind of clarify it a bit for the thumbnail. We'll see if our little cheat here works to kind of make the okay. And I think that works. I think I might actually go in and adjust the contrast a little bit in a second too. And this is going to be kind of a little bit, again, it's nighttime. It's like a night sky. Meaning we're going to have very little detail up here. Carriage is going to get a little darker. Cool. I will take that as the finished rough for panel 1. Now we're going to get into panel 2, which again, I'm pretty happy with this. So I'm going to kind of grab what I want from here. And then we'll probably tighten up that driver. Once we have our text, which is going to be, what is our text going to be? Our text is going to be, okay, this will be, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. I like this. There's a lot of nice space for that. And let's see our thumbnail here. So we can actually simplify this quite a bit. Okay. And then I think that we can do, yeah, I think there was like, it's going to be her rows. And I think now we can do, let's make this black. And you know what? I actually don't even mind that driver being so rough because it's clear, And it's just a rough, so. We got our carriage driver back here. Okay. I do want to darken some of the details on her. Light's going to be sort of emanating now from the other side. And her hair is super dark. And again, this is just roughs, so I think that'll work. Okay, so we have that. Now we're going to do our next one, which I do kind of need to draw, which is fine. So we're going to do him saying, if you believe it, they will believe it. And I like this much better for the word balloon than what I initially had allotted space for. So that's going to be nice. Nice and simple to kind of make work. And again, this is just rough, but it helps me work out my word balloon sizes. It helps with a lot of things, actually. Roughs are great. Okay, so this is going to be the hat. And we're going to just get into some details with it. Like this is, you know, square off the fingers. And let's get that brim sort of working. Let's get this looking a little more like him. This is going to be his kind of wild hair. Getting a little too sketchy again. We got to be a little more confident with our lines here. Philip said, I got to call it a night. Have a great night, Josh. Hope you get lots done. Thanks. I will probably be calling it a night in maybe an hour, maybe less. We're just kind of tightening this up. And this is going to be side of that building. So probably like a window. This will be that brick thing. And then similarly, I think this will be like a much smaller kind of thing. I don't like that background so much. I think I did too much detail on that, so we're going to go ahead and we'll rework that background a little bit. I think instead this should be more extreme. So it should be like tiny in the background. And then we should have like kind of the archway here thing. Okay. So then we're going to do our shading. Which will be kind of here where it's okay, let's see if this works. Hey, look at that. I'll take that. Again, just a rough, so we're getting there. Okay. Now we're going to do our now we're going to do our third, which is going to be her saying, "You are no gentleman." Oh, wait. Ah, I messed up on my roughs. Okay, well, we'll make this work. So this is going to be if I can be of any. We're going to see if we can make this work. Otherwise, we're going to have to rework the rough. Service to you. You know where to find me. I am discreet. So that's going to be here. And I think that'll be him speaking here. We got to make this panel work. Okay. Let's move it a little bit closer to him. And then let's do... I like that. Okay. So actually we'll fill the space a little better too. So this is going to be him kind of saying that. Oop. Do I want it moved down? Maybe I didn't want it moved down. Maybe we'll move it back up. Make sound effects sometimes when I'm working. Do you guys ever catch yourself doing that? This is going to be her saying, you are No gentle man. Period. And then this will be whoop. Kind of making it work here. Okay. So that'll be there. And then we'll have a little more detail here. Then we have home kind of doing his evil. And we'll have this be the brim of the hat, maybe. Maybe that can be even brimmier. So that'll be his kind of brimmy hat thing. And then there's always a little bit of... Okay. We're doing a lot of noodling. Okay, and then this is going to be his thing. And then we'll have her... She's going to be like here. With her kind of flower thing. You know what? I was gonna have her holding like the seat because she just got in, but I think she's gonna be holding her shawl closer, which I think shows like a little more disgust in a weird way. Because she's intrigued and disgusted by home. Okay, so that's going to be her reaching up. This will be her sort of now in the carriage. This is going to be her sort of somewhat goofier guy, and he has kind of curly hair. He has chops too. And he is in the carriage already. All right. Got him sitting. And then we're going to have our carriage seat. And let's just do a little bit thicker. So this is the carriage seat. It's open. I have that there. This is going to be the interior with the window. That's going to be the hinges, I guess, of the door. The door will be open. And we'll have the hand of the guy, even though it's... Okay. So the carriage, and then this is the front of the carriage. So this is going to have the... If this goes like this, then that's going to... Nope. My perspective's bad here. Okay. It's a weird one to figure out. Okay, so we have this. This is going to be almost like dead on, actually. Which might create a bit of a tangent, so we'll move his mustache down a little bit to kind of watch for that. And then we'll have here, here, and then the carriage, which we can have like da, 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 da. And this can have like, we can see a little bit of the horse or whatever. Chapow. Much better. I think that's much clearer than the previous. Okay, let's add some shading to this. So we got our night sky. That's going to be probably the darkest spots. And the ground, which will be pretty dark. We have our carriage. It's going to be... It's a lot of darkness because it's night, right? But... Eckley. Sophie. Her husband. This is going to be very dark as it gets back there. So they're getting in their carriage. And then we have home in the foreground. Just kind of doing his evil home stuff. And if you guys are still with me, we're 2 hours in. If you haven't yet, hit that like button. I know it's obnoxious for me to ask you to do it, but it helps. It goes a long way. It helps people discover this show and helps us make a bigger community. And I like our community a lot, and I want to see us grow even more. And also, it's been a while since I've streamed, so it's a nice way to say you like having me back. Now, that being said, thanks to everybody who is here. I very much appreciate that too. Okay. Now we're going to have a little bit more detail on this. It doesn't need to be super detailed, but it needs to probably make a little more sense than this. So this is going to be the cab driver. He's going to be closing the door. And this was a gentleman. He's going to have the tailcoat, but he is very actively shutting the door. He has his foot out, this foot here. And here is the door being shut. And we can just kind of draw the details in here. So doesn't need to be super detailed because, again, it's a rough. But at least that's going to let us know kind of roughly where we are. So again, We'll have our wagon wheel or whatever. And we can add a little bit of detail here. There should be another wagon wheel here. Wow. Very wobbly, but again, we're just roughing. So, okay. Now we're going to do our wagon wheels. And kind of going to be seeing a little bit of the top of the wagon. This is going to be the spot where the driver sits, as much as we can kind of show. The wagon has shrunk quite significantly, but that's okay. And we're going to have our horse. It's going to be here. Our horse butt. And we're going to have our reins that are going to be sitting here. There's like a weird little like rein holder thing that's in these two. Our hitch is probably going to be under. And now we're going to have home, but just a little bit of home, you know. Okay, now we're gonna again, you know, kind of add some little things. I think there's the fountain will be right here. Yes. I know. I know. So then we're going to do this, finish up this rough, and then we only have one panel left to rough. And then there we go. Kind of getting there a little bit. My shading is a little off today. Like usually on my roughs, I'm a little bit more cognizant, but I'm noticing that my depth and light source is a little off, but it makes sense that I'd be a little rusty, but these are passable roughs. And then we're going to do our last thing, which I think honestly, that's pretty good. Weirdly enough, I think that might actually be passable for a rough. So we'll see. We'll see. Edit. Paste in place. I know it's weird, but I really like the movement of that. So I think we might kind of use that. And weirdly enough, like just add some shadow. And I'm going to call that done. It's a little bit of a sloppier one, but I think this is good. And I don't know. It's a good like return to roughs. So I'm going to actually call that finished. We've roughed out page 94. And then tomorrow, hopefully we can rough out page 95. I think let's see how far we are from doing finished pages. Hmm. Okay, so if I look at, okay, 86 was the last one we ended on for final pages. So we have 2 more roughs to do before I can start doing final pages again. And we're back on track. We got back to it. We did some comics. We did some cartooning. You guys joined me. I really appreciate that. Thanks for hanging out. And if you haven't yet, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Make sure you check out the artists who were in the chat. There's Philip Chandler, Adam Lohr stopped by. They're both excellent artists in their own right. Thomas Adams, just say hi to him next time. He is awesome and a really good supporter of the show. Thanks to John Coyote. I hope their surgery goes well. And I hope you guys are good out there, and I appreciate you guys. I really do want to be back on the horse for this. So I will tell you this. Tomorrow's Artcasters, so that's for sure going to happen. But if after Artcasters you don't see me streaming consistently, give me grief, because that means I'm probably not working on my comic. And I need to be back on it. So here's for breaking bad habits and rebuilding good ones. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you guys. It's fun to be back, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.